Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Louise Robbins, and I would like to introduce Shabnam Lotfi, running for Wisconsin State Assembly in District 77.
Thank you for having me.
As we begin, please give an opening statement as to the educational, vocational, and civic experience you have which qualifies you for this office and why you're running for the State Assembly.
Thank you, of course. So my name is Shabnam Lotfi, and I am running for this office because fighting for justice is the truest, highest, fullest expression of who I am. I'm a Democrat, I'm a Badger, I'm an attorney, and I've dedicated my life to making Wisconsin a better place. It has been my honor to serve our community as an immigration attorney during the most vulnerable moments of people's lives. My full-time job is to keep families together. And when other people think it's too tough and they don't know what to do, I don't give up, I give in. So in 2017, when the Trump administration signed an executive order banning Muslims from coming to the United States, the very first thing I did that day is to organize. And I started a group called Immigrants United, where we had over 10,000 members in less than a week. We organized, we told people what airline to get on, what airport to land in, what attorney would be waiting for them, and how to get in front of a judge. And it is through this grassroots effort that I was able to collect enough evidence to file a class action lawsuit against the Trump administration. While that case is pending, I have also won 98% of my cases. And my record shows that when people put their lives in my hands, I fight for them. And if I am elected as your representative, I will take that same passion, that experience, that stubborn persistence to the Capitol and fight on behalf of the representatives or the residents of our district. Thank you.
Assembly districts represent many different constituencies. How do you see yourself communicating with and balancing all of the interests involved?
That is a really good question. And it's a question that I get oftentimes when I knock on doors. I believe that communication skills are probably my strongest skill. I was born in the middle of a war, and my entire childhood was shaped by those experiences. So I had lived in 7 houses on 3 continents by the time I was 10 years old. I never had a sense of belonging. I never had a home. And as a result, this turned out to be a blessing in disguise because I learned very early in life how to communicate with kids that were very different from me. I learned empathy, and I've learned how to see the world from other people's perspective. So those terrible childhood experiences turned out to be an asset, and probably the most significant asset I have as a representative in this race. So I do believe that we should reach out across the aisle, especially if we're in the minority. We need to visit and meet the Republican colleagues that are outside of Madison. We need to build common ground. People tell me all the time they don't want to listen to you. And that is not the first time I've heard that in my life. I've heard that often. And I've learned that, if you come from a good place with a kind heart and you try the first time and the second time and the third time, by the 4th or 5th time, people start looking at you differently and they pay attention and they think, we should give her a chance. And I would use those type of life experiences in the State Assembly to build common ground.
What do you believe is the most important issue to be addressed in the upcoming 2018-2019 budget debate, and why?
I think the most important issue we have is fair maps, because fair maps has to do with your ability to vote. It has to do with your right to vote and for your vote to matter. This is the country that stands for government by the people and for the people. And if we have gerrymandering that takes that away from us, I think that's the biggest attack on our institutions. It's the biggest attack on our democracy. So I strongly support, as the very first thing I would do in office, is to make sure that we put the districting in the hands of a nonpartisan committee, and I would look to Iowa as an example.
So you've answered one of the other questions. How would you propose the state address that issue was the next question.
How do we address it? Well,
How do
I
we-
would look to Iowa. I think Iowa has done an incredible job, and we could certainly look to them for lessons learned and to see, an example is what they have and to see how we can make that work for Wisconsin.
What's another issue of great importance for the constituents in your district? Why is it important?
I think there's a number of issues. I live in a district where the voters are engaged and they're active and they are informed and they understand the issues. But if I could put them under an umbrella, one of the biggest issues is that there's just too much money in politics. There is broad support on both sides of the aisle for environmental protections. There's broad support for sensible gun safety legislation that everybody can get behind, but these things don't happen, and it's because of the big money in politics. And I think that's the way you got to deal with it, is to get the money out of politics, especially when there's broad support.
How would you address the issue?
So there's two things. One is you've got to win the majority. You've got to take back the majority, and my goal is that this election is going to be over on August 14th, but on the 15th, we start knocking on doors for every single other Democrat that is running a race outside of Madison. They need manpower, they need resources, they need people to knock on doors for them, they need people to do mailings for them, and I think our job as the party is to make sure we do not leave one seat left behind. So taking back the majority is one thing, and the second thing is communication. I would meet with every Republican, I would meet with people across the aisle, I would try to build relationships, and to show us that we have a lot of common ground. There's a lot of common ground, and that's what I would do.
What one or two policy issues do you see yourself either having special knowledge in or needing to gain more knowledge in, and how would these focuses benefit your constituents?
Areas where, well, I think I try to be well-versed and well-read on all the issues. I'm clearly not an expert on the environment. I'm not an expert on criminal justice, and I would certainly seek experts for input and for their knowledge. And that's what I've done in my practice. That's how I've been able to win 98% of my cases, is we pick and choose every single word when we're going to articulate something, whether it's in a press release, whether it's in a brief, or in a hearing. We look to experts, we look to people that are on the ground. We try to get a 360-degree perspective on any one issue so that whatever we put forward, we know that we've done the best job that we possibly could. And as far as the issues goes, I think environmental protections is big in my district. We want to make sure that regulations are in place. We want to make sure that the DNR gets full funding. We want to make sure that we're not authorizing the fillings of wetlands. We want to make sure we're cleaning our lakes and that we're not draining Lake Michigan for Foxconn. Environmental protections is something that's really, really big in my district.
What assembly committees do you wish to serve on, and why?
Oh, I think that I would definitely want to be on the Environmental Protections Committee. I would want to be working on education. I would want to be working on criminal justice. I would want to work in any area where I could be useful and helpful and contribute. But those are some issues that are very near and dear to my heart.
Without attacking your opponents, what do you think distinguishes you from them and makes you the best candidate to represent your district?
I'm an attorney. I have been litigating cases throughout my professional adult career. I'm pretty good at organizing and getting people engaged and energized and invigorated and excited about elections. I have a Facebook account, a Twitter account, an Instagram account. I am a millennial, so I reach to the millennial generation and I can speak to them in their terms. I am in this race with heart and soul. I'm not politically connected. I don't have PAC money. A lot of people, when I knock on doors, they say I remind them of the woman in New York, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they're saying you need to be her in our district. The Democratic Party needs a facelift. We need new people in office, and I represent that.
So you now have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you so much. So as I just mentioned, I strongly believe that the Democratic Party needs an overhaul. Our democracy is not working for people that are millennials, and from my perspective, it's really not working for minorities. It's not working for ordinary people. I'm not a career politician. I'm a Democrat. I'm an American, and I believe in those words, we the people, and I believe in the American dream, and I believe our country is worth fighting for. I believe we need fair maps. I believe that we need an economy that works for everybody, and we need to reduce those barriers, whether it's student loan debt, whether it's raising the minimum wage, whether it's making sure that people have access to affordable daycare, access to affordable housing. These are the issues that are very near and dear to my generation. And I believe we've got to get rid of the corruption that's in politics. There's way too much money, and that's why we don't have environmental protections. That's why we don't have sensible gun safety legislation. I am enamored and excited about what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did in New York, and I would like to do the same thing here. We need new people in office. We need to show a generation of people that you don't need to be politically connected or have PAC money to run. And I hope that if I am your representative, I will have the ability to make Wisconsin the great state that we all know it to be. And I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
I want to thank Shabnam Lotfi for speaking with us and you, the viewing audience, for taking the time to know your candidates. As with every election, please vote. The 2018 fall primary, including District 77 of the Wisconsin State Assembly, is on Tuesday, August 14th. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.